What is up? This is JT. I'm working on a 2002 Mercury Sable, but apparently the Ford Taurus of the same generation is roughly the same situation. So after you have your wheel removed, lug nuts, brake components, all that stuff's easy. And I got the brake components inside the car. There's the rotor. You gotta take all that off. You're going to want to remove your ABS sensor, and what I found to work is a 12-point quarter-inch. Looks like this. Make sure you hold it on there very, very tightly, but apparently it's a reverse Torx. So it's an inverted Torx, which is not exactly meant for a 12-point, but a 12-point will work. And I would go ahead and take the brake lines loose, which is a 10mm, and I seem to have misplaced it. There it is, a little 10mm bolt that bolts in right back here. Just take that loose, and then also these are connected here, so you want to get that out of the way. You do not want to damage those are expensive. Done that before. So I got my caliper hanging out of the way. That's going to give me plenty of room to swing the strut. And you're also going to want to take your tie rod end off. And I believe it's a 17, but I'm not entirely positive on that. Not a 17. It's an 18mm. So you're going to pull that off, just smack it a couple times on the side right here. Flip your castle nut over, put it on like this until it is almost flush with the end, and then smack it upwards with a hammer. You don't want to torch any of this stuff because that will screw it up. And you want to try to protect these threads. That's why you screw the castle nut upside down until it's roughly flush so you don't mushroom out the bolt. Smack that sucker up. If you have to, hit it a couple times on the side. That'll kind of break the interference fit loose. And then we're going to want to loosen this completely off, and it is a 21mm or maybe tighter in a standard size, but I don't know what size. But we're going to pull that right off with our rigid impact. If I can get that lined up. Takes it right off. And then actually, we're going to leave that in for now until we start loosening the bottom. And the bottom is, I believe, it might be the same size. Now we're not going to want to take that all the way off. We're going to want to actually leave that to where you can hit it with a hammer until it's loose. So, what was that, a 21, I believe? We're going to tighten that back up by hand real quick. Oh my, that is tight. Till we get about the same, right about flush, because we're going to hit this with a torch. And it is going to melt the nylon out of the end of that nut. Now this one you do not want to flip over because it is so tight on there, you will not be able to get it off. So unless you use like vice grips or something like that, that would take forever. So at this point, we want to remove this as well because it is in the way, and that's going to be a 30mm. Let me get that set up. Okay, we got this set up, 30mm. Oh, look at that, I don't have the octane battery on. Let's switch it. Okay, now we got an octane battery. Holy shit. Wow. That looks hot. We melted something. I'm gonna want to remove that washer. I had a hook. Yeah, I got like a hook type tool. Get it behind there somehow. You get the idea. Okay, one thing I actually did out of order is leave that tight, or at least leave the bolt in there so it doesn't fall down. Because we're gonna have to separate these two first, then you pull it off of here. It has to go in that specific order. And as you can see, check while you're in here these little boots, bushings, make sure everything's tight. Do all that type of check while you're under here. And now we get the blowtorch right through here until this is super hot. Then what we're gonna do is jack up under here, put pressure so it's going up, and then we're gonna take a pry bar and we're gonna put it in this circle. We're gonna pry down as we're smacking this nut. We're gonna smack this nut up after it's heated up nice, and this will be all melted, all gone. We're gonna smack that up while we're putting pressure up under with the jack, and I'm gonna show all you that in a second. Okay, to make this job easier, you're gonna want something like this. The pump jacks, they're just too slow. But anyways, I do this with the impact. Wait, I got that on auto. But you're gonna want to put this, and it's perfectly shaped as well, to go right underneath this hub. And we're gonna do this, and basically, and you can tell that it will roll, but the other tire's on the ground. So, and it's in park, so it won't roll very far. We're gonna do that, but first we have to torch it. Just get that ready. So we got our torch. I'm using a propane and Harbor Freight auto ignite. We're gonna Okay, you get the idea. I'm gonna go ahead and torch this for a little while until it's super hot. Alright, so I had to improvise a little bit. My screw type jack actually stripped the bolt out, which sucks because that was my favorite jack. But anyways, I just took one of these types of sledgehammers because I didn't have enough room to swing to hit up. I just kind of hit on the side down. And you got to be really careful because you are going to bend the shit out of stuff. But I just clipped it right next to it, just like that. And it loosened it up. So we're free. We're going to let that cool down for quite some time, and be careful when you're hitting near these aluminum parts, and also your CV boot. Don't hit that, you'll damage that. And also this little thing, I bent the other one pretty bad when I did it, but it's not too hard to bend back. But like I said, you can hit it on the edge right there, and it's super hot, by the way. This was on fire, it melted all the boot's completely gone. And then I just tapped it about 5 times right on the side of that, maybe 10. And then a couple times my hammerhead actually slid halfway off and made me miss right there. So I gotta get a screw or something in this. I already cut this off and repaired it once, but obviously it's not gonna hold. So we'll have to fix that again. But yeah, it's loose right there. Then we gotta loosen that bolt up. And then you just kinda hit this to where it's loose. If this is not too hot, you can do the same thing, or really this has a special end on it to where you can tap it if you need to. Otherwise, grab your rubber mallet, just give it, it's nice and loose. Love this mallet. It's the one I fixed. Alright, so I stuck this long crowbar into this little center hole here, and basically I stepped on it barefoot, pushed this down, and I pulled this entire unit, just pulled it out, and it just pulls right out. There you go, that's loose. Now all we gotta do is loosen this one, and then simultaneously we're going to slide the CV boot or CV joint out, or the axle, as we are removing it from the strut. So that's fun. Alright, so basically what you're going to do is pull this out, wiggle it down and away from this all at the same time, and eventually this will come free, and then you can pull the rest of the way down. Then you're going to want to set your tool up similar to this, because this tool is not made for Fords. This is pretty much the best you're going to get, and we're going to try to press it out. Alright, that's all you're going to get with that. The rest of the way we'll have to hammer it. We'll loosen this. Pull this. Try not to gouge too much when you're going through this, because I actually had to straighten mine out with a carbide burr, or a burr removal. Apart. As you can see, it damages the spindle a little bit, but yeah, it doesn't push it all the way out, because they don't make tools very well for loaners. And so what you do is just hold this best you can and pound the rest of it, pound it the rest of the way out with a sledgehammer. Yay. Then if you damaged anything on here, you have to clean it out with a burr tool and locate your new parts, which are in the car. And then we'll reverse it. Pause. Okay, the way I got this set up is I've got the open side of the clamp directly on the bottom of the ball joint. I've got the medium sized circle because I don't want to damage the boot. Then I've got the open spacer, and then I've got the closed spacer, which the push actually goes against. That's how we're gonna do it. And I got my impact on top. It's one of the easiest and only ways I found to do it. Okay, be very, very careful when putting on the C-clip or snap ring, whatever you want to call it. That's not technically a C-clip, because I sliced one of these boots on accident. So double check, make sure. If you don't feel comfortable putting the snap ring on with this, you just have to remove this little brass colored ring, kind of like you would a piston ring. Just kind of remove a little at a time. It's easy, it comes right off. Pop the boot off, make sure all the grease stays in the right spot. If it comes up on top of the bolt, just rub it back into the boot. If it takes a lot out, put some back in. Then once you get your ring back on, pop that back on, and then put the little retainer. It's just a swirly ring. There you go, there's the end right there. You can see, you just kind of twist it off. But now we're done with this. When it comes to installing, you're going to want to start with this, get it kind of in the right spot. And so this is going to actually, it's going to face this way. And you're going to want to slide that on first, then go up onto your strut. Once you get up so far, hook it with the bolt. Slide that bolt in from the front, which goes this direction here, and it's got like a little holder so it doesn't spin when you tighten in the nut, and then that'll hold it up. Then you just do the reverse, you pry this down, and if you have to, you can jack the rest of it up, but I don't think I'll have to do that. Just pry that down and then maneuver the ball joint into the hole. Once you get it in there, make sure everything is straight before you tighten this down, because once you tighten this down, it's going to be interference fit into this, and if it's not correct, you'll have to pound it back out. You risk damaging things. So like I said, start with this, get it aligned into the hole, into this hole, then start sliding it up, and then do the bottom. And then you're gonna see what it looks like here in a second. Alright, so first I put this in, then I just lined it up as best I could, and then as you can see, there's a little tab that keeps this perfectly straight, and it also keeps it vertically straight. And then you'll have to pull this out. Once you get this engaged a little bit, you'll have to pull this out in order to lift it up onto there before you can slide the bolt in. Alright, so what I did was I went ahead and put the axle shaft in, finger tighten the nut down, and then what you're going to want to do is have your pry bar over here. You can put your leg over it, do whatever works for you, but you gotta have it out of the way enough where you can get to the strut. You're gonna want to lift it, turn it, kind of jiggle it up in there. If you've got access to a hammer, you can give it some taps. Go, and then hook this in right here. Squeeze this down as far as you can and angle this just a little bit. And of course my pry bar needs to be in the front, so we're going to relocate that. Once we get enough clearance, swing it, line it up, and the ball joint should be good enough to, when you tap it around, should go right into place. Boom. Now you locate your new castle nut and retainer, and you just kind of finger tighten everything. Like I said, until you make sure, so put the castle nut underneath. Everything should be good. When you make sure everything's good, start to put the nuts back on. Just leave them finger loose. And then also your tie rod. I don't want to loosen this back up, so we had that upside down to pound it out. Just line it up like so. So it slides in there. Finger tighten this. We're just going to finger tighten everything for now. And then this is strange. So the little tab lines up in this hole. It's kind of a difficult thing to do while filming, but this tab goes in this hole like that, and then you put the screw in, which I can't do while I'm holding this. And then also you're going to slide your ABS sensor. Now you can go ahead and spit on it, do whatever you want, get it a little bit easier to slide. Clean it off a little bit. If you have a little bit of grease, that'll help, but not too much, because then it'll cause it not to want to go in. You're going to slide that back in. Ah, it went in easy, sweet. Line up your bolt. Just make sure everything is finger tight for now, until we get to where everything is on right, everything lines up. Manipulating and doing this is a dust shield for the rotor. You're going to end up bending the crap out of it, which I did. It actually fell and bent the whole thing. So I kind of bent it back, but also I had to bend it out of the way of the ball joint so that I could have some room to work with. So you might have to manipulate and bend this around a little bit. And don't forget to place these back in the little holder, which is not too difficult if they're not wanting to go in. Use a little bit of water, spit, whatever. Lots of stuff will work. And there we have it on that. Make sure you got enough room that it stays tight. That's where you're going to use your 1/4 inch 12 point on this to tighten it, which it's too loose to even do with one hand. And then basically what you're going to do is tighten this down to, I believe, 180 foot-pounds. This one, probably around 100, whatever, 120, and then line up your castle nut, put your retaining pin in. Brand new. I don't exactly know all the torque specs on all this stuff. I usually just snug it down and make sure it's tight. So we're gonna get all that back. Alright, so we got that tightened down and it is retained. We've got this one tightened down and it has a retainer. This one's tight. That little one's tight. We gotta do this one. We're just gonna do it with the rigid. It's supposed to be around 180, 185. I'm pretty sure that is that, but I can check that with a torque wrench later. So then just put your brakes, rotors, and your wheel back on. You're good to go. Put all your kits back together. Gotta pay attention to which way they go. They only go a certain way. This useless contraption, which actually did work, but it's not very good. Tell you what, man. Just put all this back in the case. It's good to go. Once we get that torque down, this socket also goes back to O'Reilly's. And ooh, almost forgot the small one. Don't do that, they might charge you. And do not buy this tool, power built. Do not buy this. Snap ring pliers, they are awful. They are gonna go back to the store, but if you're wondering what it is, power built 941336. Don't buy this tool, it's awful. But just got to get the rest of it back together. Right now I'm gonna go eat, and then yeah, that's pretty much it. Just put the rest of it back together like normal. Just brakes, put your brackets on, slide your pads in, throw your caliper on. Well, of course, before you put the bracket on, slide this on. You might need that. It's kind of important. You can do that now. Make sure you wipe it off with something. Otherwise you're gonna have dirty brakes. Just put the rest of it back together like you're doing a brake job and you're good to go. But that's it. This job's done. I already did the other side. So sweet. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.